Hey, and welcome to another episode of Gooner Down Under TV. Today is going to be all about predicting that 2023 to 2024 Premier League season. You know, pre-season is done. We are finally here, and that first game is right around the corner. So, all I'm going to say before I get into the video, don't mind these ads. I'm not sponsored. But also, please sponsor. All right, that being said, we're going to go into it. Shout out to Teammaker for making this list. Makes it nice and easy. Don't need to formula or edit a table together. Now, we're going to start bottom up, of course. Going to try and speed through those lower ranked teams. And then I might go into a little bit more of a breakdown for those upper teams. Or if I get inspired, I'll rant wherever I can. So, 20th place, I'm going for the mighty Tottenham Hotspur. Nah, I'm just playing. I wish. 20th place, I'm going for Luton Town. Inspiring story coming up. You know, I would really love for them to kick on this season, but I just don't see it happening. Don't think they've necessarily done a lot in the transfer market. And you're going to see that as sort of a recurring theme with a lot of the lower ranked teams. I think they brought in Chong. I think there was someone else. They lost Kadare to City. And I'm just not convinced by what they're going to be able to do. So I've got them coming in 20th place. 19th, I'm going with West Ham. Some of it is banter. Don't know really why the Arsenal-West Ham rivalry kicked off in the off-season. I know it was around the Rice saga, but I feel like both clubs were very amicable towards each other for a long time. There was always respect. And look, I'm sure Arsenal's Twitterverse has something to do with it, but I think it was just unnecessary. You know, there was a lot of people who were salty for Rice to come to Arsenal, saying it's not necessarily a step up. But hopefully, you know, after their Conference League, they're going to see that a relegation might be the step up that was required. On a footballing aspect as well, I just don't think they've done enough. They've lost Rice, they've lost Scamacca, and I think they've also lost Lanzini. And the only player they've reportedly brought in is Alvarez. At time of recording, it's not confirmed, so this is only the Fabrizio Romano, here we go. They've brought in Alvarez from Ajax. I do like him, you know, he's a pretty versatile player. Can sort of play anywhere from that 8 to 6 to even centre back. And so I think he will be good, but just not enough. They've wasted so much time in the transfer window, haven't done anything. I also don't think David Moyes is the right manager. They've brought in a head of football who sort of clashes with Moyes a lot. And so I think they really need to fix that out quick for their sake. But regardless, this video, I'm going 20th Luton Town, 19th West Ham, and 18th I'm going with Sheffield United. Another team that's just come up, I just don't see them sticking around. You know, they have brought in a couple players, but I don't think they've done enough. And I think to crack this Premier League and be able to stay in it more than one season, or even just one season, is going to be tough. And I don't see them doing it. From here, I'm going to improv a lot of what I had. You know, I sort of tried to write a table beforehand, but I feel like in the moment, it's all going to go to chaos. And, you know, I would like to come back to this maybe midpoint of the season and at the end to see how right or wrong I am. But that being said, the team I'm saying is just going to miss that relegation spot is Wolverhampton Wolves. I feel like they've lost a lot of their core players that sort of got them to where they are. You know, they lost Raul Jimenez. They've lost Ruben Neves, João Moutinho, Adama Traore, now also Costa. And I don't know if they've brought enough in as well. So I've got them finishing 17th. To be honest, if West Ham sort of sort themselves out, I would swap the two. But as of now, I'm going to have Wolverhampton coming 17th. From there, going for Nottingham Forest. So they're going to finish 16th in my eyes. They have lost Henan Lodi back up. Can't even talk. He was on loan. He's gone now. Navas is gone now. They have brought in, I believe, Ilanga and Wood. Good pieces. I just don't think they're enough to get them anywhere higher on this list. Like I said, this Premier League is so competitive. I just don't see them doing any better. Now, next up, I am going for Fulham. I'm going for Fulham. I think I had them a little bit higher originally, but I'm just not convinced by them. It looks like they might be losing Mitrovic, who was such a big piece to them. Yes, they brought in Raul Jimenez, but he's not the Jimenez of old, especially after those head injuries, which is so sad to see. You never want to see someone's career ruined like that, and it seems like apparently he can't head a ball anymore. He's got to play strictly with his feet. I think for $5 million, he still will be a good signing, but I don't think it'll be enough to propel them up any higher. So I've got them finishing in 14th, just higher, maybe outside that relegation battle. But it could honestly come down to those last few weeks. So from there, 13th place, I am going for Bournemouth. They've done some shrewd signings this season. They've brought in Justin Kluivert, who I think is going to be good for them. And I think, they're always around that mid-table. And I think this is going to be another season similar for them. I don't really see them doing any better. And honestly, I can't see them doing worse. I think 13's exactly where they are going to fit. That being said, we've got now the relegation teams done, those lower mid-table teams done, and we're going to move into that higher mid-table bracket. So from here, this is where it starts getting really tough. I feel like a lot of teams can be in and around this spot. But for now, 12th, I'm going to say Crystal Palace. They are losing Zaha. They're potentially losing Elise. I do like what Hodgson has done with them, but I don't know if they're going to be able to sort of, beat that mid-bracket curse. I really do like Franca from Flamengo. I think he's a quality player. Again, I just don't see them doing any better than 12th. I think it's really hard, especially losing Zaha and potentially Elise. Surprised Gehi's still there. I would have expected a bigger team to go in for him as well. And if he was gone, and if Elise was confirmed to be gone, I'd probably have them lower. But since that sort of Elise news is dying down, I'm going to keep him in my projected team. And I'm saying Crystal Palace will finish 12th. 11th, I'm going for the Everton. Finally, they can have maybe a little bit of a better season. They were around that 7 to 10 mark for a while and then just completely fell off. And you know what? There's elements of this Everton team that I like. I like Iwobi, Anana, and Doucouré as a midfield trio together. I think that's got really good potential there. 3 powerful, dynamic players who can get up and down that pitch and work. Also, Damari Gray, could they try and add maybe a couple more pieces? That is yet to be seen, but I feel like there's something there. They brought in Danjuma as well, so if him and Gray can work on the flanks together, I think that could be a pretty exciting project. Don't have them doing anything crazy, but maybe similar to last season where they sort of took points off City. I feel like they might be that team that sort of just nicks a lot of those points or some of those points with those higher echelons teams. That being said, this is going to be my bottom half of the table. And coming in 9th, I am going for Burnley. I think I initially had them a bit lower, but I think they're going to surprise a lot of teams this season. Vincent Kompany has done a really good job with them. I think they've done some shrewd signings as well. Apparently, they're linked with Lokonga. Kompany was the one that said he's the new Yaya Toure, so he better put his money where his mouth is and get him off our hands and give us a little bit of money. But Football-wise, I think a lot of people are going to expect him to play that old-fashioned Burnley style, and I think they're going to come in that first season and really surprise a lot of teams. I can see them finishing maybe anywhere between that 8 to 13 mark, but I really, really do think they're going to stay up and maybe be a consistent, threat in this Premier League again. Let me just say consistent threat relative. I don't think they're going to finish top 4 anytime soon, but I think they're going to be a consistent stay in the league. Now, the last team I have finishing in that higher to mid-table. I'm going Tottenham. Would love them to finish lower, and I think it's going to be a tough season. If Kane stays, I feel like there's going to be so much negative attention around him that whole season. Similar to Ozil and Sanchez in their last season with Arsenal, I feel like every week, no matter what happens, that's going to be the main talking point. And so I think for their sake, they better just get rid of him, bring in money, and probably make some moves. But it looks like Daniel Levy is going to be pretty stubborn on this one and hold out till he gets that fee that he wants. But I think that's just, it's at Tottenham's demise. I think they're not going to have time to bring anyone in. And unfortunately for Ange, who I liked, he's gone to the wrong team. I no longer support him. But unfortunately for him, I just don't see them doing that well. So, this is 8 to 20 all done. We are getting into that crunch portion of the predictions. And in 7th place, I am going for Brentford. Yep, I'm sticking with Brentford. Very well coached team. Last season, they surprised a lot of us. And I feel like they're going to stay around that mark again. Really, really. I think I might have done one thing wrong, actually. Okay. Brentford is going to be finishing 8th. Like I said, very well coached team. They surprised a lot of us last season. I think they're going to be in a very similar position. I don't think they've done enough to crack that next level. They've brought in some players. I don't know if they've been proactive enough. And for that reason, I feel like they're going to have the same fate. I think in future, they're really going to try and need to bring in those right players to elevate them. And I'm not sure if their current sort of framework of buying players is going to allow for that. But that being said, have them finishing 8th, which would be another good season for them. Now, where I thought I was, we now are, and we're talking about the Conference League. This could go many ways. Honestly, I'd only just found out Nkunku was injured or is going to be injured for many months, apparently. And that really has affected where I'm thinking Chelsea is going to go. Before that news, I actually was going to put Chelsea 4th as a little shock. I think, they've done a lot of good. Bringing in Jackson, bringing in Nkunku, maybe potentially bringing in Caicedo as well. I'm not going to talk about that because they haven't done it yet. But they're starting to really look like a solid team of young players. And I'm starting to see the plan. But I think that Nkunku deal or that Nkunku injury is really going to cost them. I think they'll still finish above 7th. So for now, I'm going to put Aston Villa there. Full season with Emery. They just have to compete in the Conference League, which I think they should win. And the Premier League. Their midfield is deep enough to do it. I'm not sure if the rest of their team is. They brought in Tielemans, who I think is really good on a free, compete with Douglas Luiz. They brought in Diaby, who I think is going to be an excellent winger, very dynamic, and Pau Torres, someone Emery has worked in before. So I think they're all going to fit in quite well and quickly. I just don't know if they can top any of these other top 6 teams. So I'm sticking with it. I'm going to have Aston Villa in 7th. So 20th is going to be Luton Town, 19 West Ham, Sheffield United 18th, Wolves 17, Nottingham Forest 16. I'm going with Fulham 15, Bournemouth 14, And here are the issues. This is why I probably should have stuck with my gut and my initial table, but I miscalculated. So I'm just going to start popping these teams in here. So I'm going to have Aston Villa finishing in 8th. I just think they're still one level below these remaining teams here. And I don't know if they're going to be able to compete in both comps. 7th place, I'm going with Brighton. Yes, they've lost McAllister. Yes, they might potentially be losing out on Caicedo. But I think, De Zerbi is a fantastic manager. And I think they've also brought in really good players. I believe they've brought in João Pedro, who I think is going to be a really, really good addition to their team and a good focal point. They've brought in Igor, I believe, as well. James Milner, don't underestimate for the experience aspect. But I think, Brighton might nick that Conference League spot and really solidify themselves again as one of the toughest teams to beat. Now, hopefully those shenanigans are behind us. We're down to the final 6. I'm going to count it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Beautiful. It's a lot harder to do quick maths and count if the amount of teams are correct in each station. But we're here. Got Europa Conference League going to Brighton. Europa League spot, I am going to say Chelsea. Like I said, Nkunku is out for quite a few months now. I like Jackson. I like Mudryk. I like a lot of their young players. But I think Nkunku was going to be one of those really, really pivotal players for him. In preseason, he was scoring goals frequently. And I think now without him, it's going to be another struggle to sort of compete with those bigger teams. But, I think 6th compared to what they did last season would still be, very good progress. First full season for Pochettino. I think that might be a good step for them. So, 6th going Chelsea. 5th, which should also be Champions League football, may I add. I don't know if this list is correct. It's going to be United finishing in that 5th spot. Another season with Ten Hag. I'm still not convinced with them. I think, last season, Newcastle should have really finished in 3rd. But sort of towards that end part of the season, their defense fell off and United sort of just capitalized. But I'm not convinced with United. They brought in Højlund for 90-odd mil, I think. Probably inflated that number. But he only scored 9 goals in Serie A. Haven't watched a lot of him. Is he really expected to produce more than that in the Premier League? Or is it going to take him some time to settle in? If it takes him some time to settle in, I think that's going to be even worse for him. If somehow he comes in and bangs, then maybe they have a chance to finish higher than 5th. But my head's telling me they're finishing in 5th. They also brought in Mason Mount. Where is he going to fit in? He's been playing right wing often, or as a double pivot. I don't see him being either position or filling either position well. And I think he was a bit of a bad buy, if I'm being honest. And Onana, again, has to adapt to a new league. I feel like at the start he might make a few blunders. Can he recover from that? Can he handle the physicality of the Premier League? These are all unanswered questions. So I'm having United finishing 5th. Now, we're very close. We're down to the final 4. And I'm flipping up between these bottom 2 teams constantly. And I'm sticking with it. I'm going to have Liverpool finishing in 4th. They have brought in Szoboszlai, who I like. They've brought in McAllister, who I think is a very good workhorse, slightly overrated, but they haven't filled in that number 6 position. I think they're going to be quite weak there. Their defense still hasn't been added to as well. And, they do have a very potent attack of Salah, Núñez, who I expect to bang this season. Diaz coming off injury. So I expect all of them to do good. But I just think they don't have a 6. Their defense is still shaky. I don't know if they can compete again. And, there are links with Lavia. doesn't look like it's getting done, at least today or tomorrow. There's always going to be links, but even with Lavia, yes, he was very good in, spots against Arsenal. He really ran the show, but can he come in and do it week in, week out for a team that's trying to challenge City? I don't know. Those are all unanswered questions again. So for that sake, I'm keeping in Liverpool 4th because I think Newcastle is a sure bet to be a tough team next season. Bringing in Tonali, I feel like people sort of just slid past that, didn't give it enough props. He's an absolute quality, box-to-box midfielder. Complained that 6 as well, but just in general adds to an already strong midfield. Guimarães, they've got Tonali now, Joe Willock, Joel Linton. Also bringing in Harvey Barnes next to Isak. I think they're really building something special there. And I think it only is going to take a couple more seasons before they maybe add a couple big pieces before they're really ready to compete. But I think they're just that one tier below the top 2. And I think, again, they're going to be a tough team to beat, especially at home. And so you'd never want to verse Newcastle. Now, this is the point I've been waiting for the entire time. It's the champions versus who's coming in second. It's basically, my head versus my heart. My head is telling me Man City's going to win 4 in a row. My heart is telling me Arsenal's finally going to do it. But I'm deciding I'm going to go with my heart. I'm picking Man City to come in second. I'm picking Arsenal to finally get it done this season. Man City, they've lost Mahrez. They've lost Gundogan. I know it's what we say every season that they're going to get weaker, but I really believe it this time. Gundogan and Mahrez both scored pivotal goals at pivotal moments. I feel like that last 10 games was all Gundogan. You click over to see what they're doing, you see he scored, and you're like, oh crap, they're chasing us. And without him, I don't know if they have someone in that midfield to score the same goals. De Bruyne, different position. Feel like Kovacic is sort of going to be that Gundogan type replacement, but I don't see him scoring goals, and I just don't see him being the same quality as Gundogan. And, without Mahrez, do they play Foden on the right? I'm not sure. I've heard a lot of talks of him coming into the middle. So if he comes to the middle, then yeah, I'll give you that. He replaces Gundogan goals, and I feel like he's a very good addition to that midfield. But then who plays on the right? So as of now, they haven't signed anyone. If they do, maybe my head will overtake my heart. They've also brought in Gvardiol. Again, is he going to really help them? They already had a brilliant defense last season. I don't know if he can be better. I guess it can be if you bring in someone of his talent, but I don't know if it's the right position. And, Arsenal bringing in Rice, hopefully he can settle in, start having a better impact. Havertz and Timber has been fantastic in preseason. I'm going with it. I have to say, I think Arsenal is going to win the Premier League this season. Or at least I hope. I'm not too sure if I think it, but I hope it. So that's my predictions. Let me know what you think of it down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? More importantly, what are your predictions? If you don't want to talk about all of them, have your top 4 or 5, maybe have your bottom 3, and let me know what you think. If you haven't checked out my other videos, check them out. That would be a really huge help. Make sure to like and subscribe as well. And for today, that's all for me. Peace.